It's California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Tom Kostigen is back. He is releasing his next round of books. They're coming out. They actually are out now. Extreme Weather, a survival guide, and then one for kids. My kids will love it. Also, Extreme Weather, put out in connection with Nat Geo. And it's interesting because I never thought California would be the subject of extreme weather, but we know it's possible. With climate change, it's now possible.
Yeah, I mean, the extreme weather events that we're seeing now, we've never seen before in history. Look what's entered our vocabulary. Mega droughts, mega wildfires, paleo floods, all of these events at our front door.
Let's talk about the drought side because it is on top of mind. I have seen studies which suggest this is the worst drought since the 1500s in recorded history. And so talk to us about what mega drought can cause in terms of extreme weather.
Well, I did a story for National Geographic on the mega drought, which could last as long as 200 years.
Yeah.
You know, what we have figured out is that throughout history, millennia ago, droughts lasted for a really long period of time. But our consciousness goes, well, in the last 20 years, which is what we remember, it's been actually okay. It's been temperate. But in the past, these droughts have extended for long periods of time, and we're seeing the ramifications of that. People having to import water in places like Montecito.
Who would have thought? Right.
And then you have these giant sandstorms that come rolling through the Coachella Valley that you only see basically in the Sahara Desert. They're called haboobs, things like that.
And that's because of mega drought.
Absolutely. Drier earth, more precipitation in the air, more moisture in the air, drier ground.
You said something, paleo flood?
Paleo floods.
It sounds like it's connected to dinosaurs, but I guess it's not.
It actually is from that era.
From that era, okay.
Yeah, so we have on the tail end of these mega droughts, millennia ago, as you pointed out during dinosaur time, you have paleo floods that come. And those are these atmospheric rivers of moisture that the National Weather Service and the USGS, the Geological Survey, have deemed the Ark Storm.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, and the Ark Storm has its sights on California.
Come on.
So when these things hit, massive flooding occurs.
I mean, we should be so lucky at this stage to have a big flood. I feel like we were praying for rain, but this is not the type of flood you want.
No, you kind of want something in between.
Right. So explain what a paleo flood would look like.
A paleo flood would look like Noah and the Ark.
Literally.
Yes.
Literally.
That's why they came up with Ark Storm, to kind of play on that. So it would wash out entire townships in California if it comes to fruition.
Are we at risk?
We're absolutely at risk because we haven't seen droughts like this, so there's no reason under that same type of consciousness that you can't say, well, maybe there's floods like that we're in for.
To the extent that you are aware, what causes a paleo flood? It's complicated, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's complicated, but not only does the jet stream come into play with a lot of this stuff, it has a lot to do with the warming of the oceans. The oceans are the biggest kind of configuration of weather, but also when there's more moisture in the air, as there is because the temperatures have risen, so that takes more moisture out of the ground, keeps it in the air, and then when that gets shaken loose, we have massive flooding events.
Let's talk about mega heat. At times, it feels like we are facing mega heat in California. Are we really in kind of a mega heat zone right now?
It has not been cool.
It's not been cool.
I mean, I live here too.
Right.
And, I have a giant Labrador. And he says, look, I didn't come from a place that's really warm.
That's interesting.
And so, you have to look at pets too.
It's an anecdote, but it talks to the situation.
Yeah. So, this heat wave has been, incredible. And it is tied into, according to the latest attribution science, the rise in global temperatures that can then create this blocking. Heat waves are just meaning that there isn't enough wind moving things through so that we can actually get some cooler air going. So when you have that type of blocking system, it keeps the heat there and the sun, beating down on us, and it's not a good time to go running at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
No doubt.
Like I like to.
We have had fires, more fires in 2014 than we have expected or seen. In northern and central California, fires have been particularly a problem. We've had more fires up to this date than we've had in all of 2013. So I don't know if we've transitioned into what we call as mega fires, but there's a question here about our fire safety.
Without question, and there actually is that terminology now, more mega fires,
right,
that the National Fire Service is actually using for this exact same type of thing. Less moisture
right,
in the ground means that's more susceptible. It's drier, so things spark easier. And
yeah, please.
We are developing on places that we haven't, had any type of housing before. So when we start to infringe on forestry, all of a sudden, we're in
right,
nature's kind of home den, and that can spark from just an exhaust fume a big, massive wildfire.
And you probably remember the Rim Fire, which was, I guess, the end of 2013. I was actually in a plane, and I could see the Rim Fire from the plane going to Sacramento. It's creepy. I've also spoken with folks that have suggested that the whole Smokey the Bear campaign, maybe not the best idea, because we do want some natural burn.
This is a really interesting debate, whether
right,
you want to have a controlled burn or you want to have it natural.
Right.
And, both sides have a point, and, the fire agencies use both, to give them their credit. So they use both. And at the same time, you have a lot of communities that just haven't gone. I want to hit the preparedness side here because it's really important.
And we're about to go there, yeah. And we see these great props.
People haven't prepared enough for this. 70,000 communities in the United States have been told you're in danger of a wildfire. Less than 10% have any type of preparedness.
So let's talk about preparedness. This is a kit, happens to be put out by Nat Geo, 72-hour meal and gear solution. I want to start here. This is my favorite because it does something I wouldn't want to have be done, but it may need to be done.
Yeah. No one wants to be in this situation,
right,
but this is a great company. It's National Geographic. It's Live Prepared, and it's also with this old company, been around, a family-run company since
right,
the 1960s, Blue Chip Group. And what they've developed in part of their pack is this water filter where if your water's contaminated, which is a big problem after a flood.
Right.
We saw this in Detroit, remember,
sure,
with the green water, that type
right,
of thing. But in any type of flood situation, it's not a really good idea to have water because it can be contaminated. You can fill this up even with toilet water,
but
and this little puppy is a filter. So it takes out all of the toxins, and you can drink it and be safe. That's a big issue.
And it's important. I mean,
Very
we need water. We can live without food for, weeks.
Yeah.
Without water?
72 hours.
Exactly. So if the toilet is where the water is, that's going to protect you.
Yeah, and even in time, it's another point, dehydration.
Right.
And, heat waves we were talking about, especially here in California. Stay hydrated.
Dried food, important. And it's easy, it's accessible. Does it simply need, add water.
Add water. So you have your solution here. The three basic things to life, right? Food, water, and shelter.
Right.
If you have it all in one place, fantastic.
Tell us about the glow sticks. My kids would love these, but it says a lot about what, modern technology can provide with fun in the background.
Well, the genius thing about these, and I love these too, as opposed to candles, which are super dangerous
right,
when the power goes out, a lot of 50% of fires that
right,
occur when the power goes out are because of candles burning. These things, kids love them, as you pointed out. So if you keep one next to a nightstand or in a nightstand and the power does go out, you can use them and feel safe. You don't have to worry about the matches and all that stuff.
You mentioned shelter. This deals with shelter. Explain this, Tom.
Sure. Cold times, when you start to then go to the opposite of hypothermia, you go to hypothermia.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you're talking about what do you do if someone catches frostbite or it's cold, if you're an older individual, if you have kids because your immune systems aren't as developed.
Sure.
Then you have a blanket that you can use for shelter. So this is really important. When the sun goes down, it's nighttime and the power's out, you don't have those sources of heat, you can shelter up with that.
And if you're trying to get noticed, here's one way to do it.
That's actually my favorite thing. And that has a storm whistle, which people forget about. If you're trapped somewhere and you want to cause attention, hey, this is where I am, storm whistle, right there. Or you can flick the light. Light is really important at any time during a disaster.
He is the author of this book, which is waterproof. It's called Extreme Weather by Tom Kostigen. My name is Brad Pomerance, and you are watching California Edition.